Welcome to Action Theater presents Extra Dose. Today's feature is the Event Horizon, and that was my phone going off for some reason. Sorry about that. Well, happy Saturday, everybody. It's first Saturday or second Saturday in July. July? Wait a minute. What month am I? I think
Flash
I'm
forward.
in October. In October, yeah, it's October. Boy, I just okay. Deleted scenes. He's going to give you the synopsis of this film, sci-fi slasher horror. Go for it.
All right. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen out there in YouTube land. I am Deleted Scenes, human being American and YouTuber Ronan. Welcome to the show. Tonight's film is Event Horizon from 1997, starring Lawrence Fishburne and Sam Neill. And the synopsis is as follows. The year is 2047. Years earlier, the pioneering research vessel Event Horizon vanished without a trace. Now, a signal from it has been detected, and the United States Aerospace Command responds. Hurtling towards the signal source is a fearless captain, his elite crew, and a lost ship's designer. Their mission? Find and salvage the state-of-the-art spacecraft. What they find is state-of-the-art interstellar terror. And this is a movie that has been described very often as The Shining in space. And I would have to agree. It's a haunted spaceship movie.
Very creepy.
Made all the more creepy by the fact that the Event Horizon itself is designed to look like a cathedral, which makes it even creepier and adds to the religious imagery that's in the film, and there's a lot of it. Not always noticeable upon first viewing, but it's definitely there. I'm a big fan of this one personally. Saw it in theaters back in the day. It's become a cult favorite over the years.
Cult classic it is.
And it's also very famous or infamous for what's not in the film. And we'll get to that, as when the film gets to those scenes. So yeah, definitely looking forward to this. Say hello to some people who've joined us here in the chat. Of course, channel member JPRPH1. Faithful Blue Wrench channel member, the Bird Woman of YouTube. Watch out for her channel, Fluff Chick Productions. Connie Cleary. Friend of the channel and new member, Andrea Black. Let's see, scrolling down. Friend of the channel, Tune the News. Good to see you. Emoji Queen, Lady Mist.
Hello, Lady Mist.
Across the pond, Words and Pictures.
Words and Pictures. Good to see you, my buddy.
Right on. Resolute Germ. Good to see you, buddy. All right. Extra doses are always welcome. Well, there will be.
Yeah.
The remainder
of October. Yeah. So as much as we would love to bring it to YouTube, we are restricted by copyright law and the guidelines of YouTube. You could probably rent this or buy it on YouTube. Also on Prime Video and of course Fandango at home. Yeah, you'll also probably find it on Tubi and Pluto TV, which are free, have a lot of content on those. Anyway, without further ado, we're going to get this sci-fi thriller cult classic underway, and here we go. This is always a must watch at least once a year, and October's pretty a good choice. And with this being the second Saturday, I figured, yeah, why not?
Paramount Pictures, which fades into the titles for the film.
Paul Anderson film. He did RoboCop and Starship Troopers and a number of other.
No, that was Verhoeven.
Verhoeven, okay.
Yeah,
I always get those guys confused. I think the runtime on this is exactly 1 hour and 37 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't outstay its welcome.
No, it doesn't. It's
and it really hooks you for a loop. I mean, you stay hooked through pretty much throughout.
Now, there was much made at the time about the musical score for this film, which a number of people complained seemed like a rave party. I disagree. I think it fits. 2015, first permanent colony established on the moon. 2032, commercial mining begins on Mars. 2040, deep space research vessel Event Horizon launched to explore boundaries of solar system. She disappears without a trace beyond the 8th planet, Neptune. It is the worst space disaster on record.
Now that the claim, I think the claim is there's only 8 planets. We no longer have 9.
2047 now. And of course, we open on the Event Horizon herself, and
it's just weird because it looks like a chapel. The back end looks like a bird of prey Klingon ship. They got things just floating all over the ship.
Zero G.
Yeah.
And a nice little Easter egg, that book that went flying by, that is the director on the cover. Paul Anderson. And my avatar for today, folks. The corpse sickle, as he's referred. And of course, we open on Sam Neill as Dr. Weir, who is the designer of the Event Horizon. Who, on top of the loss of the ship and its crew, is also dealing with the death of his wife.
as he shaves himself with a straight razor.
Yeah. Jump scare. Mm.
Uh, he looks like he's on the International Space Station.
Well, this movie's version of it, anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, very large station. Hovering over what looks like Africa or no
Yeah.
or
Daylight Station. And of course, our hero ship, the Lewis and Clark. Search and rescue. We had our. There's actually a scene in between there, those two scenes that were cut, which is the whole mission briefing scene with Sam Neill and the military types and this kind of shady government man.
hail and welcome to Stan Lee.
Huh.
Nice to see you and welcome. He asked the question: is this movie sci-fi or horror? It teeters on both. It's both. It's sci-fi and horror. It's a subgenre. I don't know what we get call it, but it's both. Or you could categorize it in both of these.
This is when I watch a 90-minute movie now, I'm always surprised when it ends. Yeah, I have often lamented on not only here but on several other shows. I miss these, kind of 90-ish minute long one-off movies, and I think there needs to be more of them. It feels like the first ending, there'll be another half hour of action before the real ending. Yeah, because a lot of movies fell into that, especially when James Cameron started to do that. You had the ending of the movie, and then the movie goes on for another half hour.
Yeah.
Yes, the Resident Evil Paul Anderson, not the Boogie Nights Paul Anderson. Yeah. Even though, say what you want about Paul Anderson, I'll give him Boogie Nights. That's a good movie. And There Will Be Blood, which we've also done on our Western show. That's a very good one as well.
Indeed.
And we get the first of his. What would you say? Hallucination, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
This is kind of the first inkling that something is not quite right.
Do they call these Bato chambers, or they're the
Yeah, these basically stasis tubes.
cryo sleep?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, damn it. Damn it, man! Secure the hatch.
What's this? His wife.
And this is, of course, his wife, Claire, who is without apparel.
Yeah. And her eyesight.
Yeah. There we go. Drinkers use that clip many times.
Sheer freaking hubris. That little scene there is kind of reminiscent of uh, Nicolas's Cage screaming in the something as the colors of space. That clip that the critical drinker plays.
Yes. Well, he did get married to the Fifth Element chick, so much respect for that. Yeah, love me some Jovovich. Yeah, you wifed correctly, Mr. Anderson. I'll do a cast star Daniel Garcia. Yes, there is a lot of lost footage on this this film. Unfortunately, I hopefully somebody still has it in a vault somewhere, and we'll get a director's cut someday down the line. Even though this was not his first movie by any means, this is the first time I ever saw Sean Pertwee in a film, and he's actually the son of John Pertwee, who is a former Doctor Who. And this was also the first time I'd seen Jason Isaacs on film as well. So.
Hail to Kessler Daniel Garcia.
Can everybody hear me okay? Oh, am I
Yeah,
good?
yeah.
Okay. All right.
You're loud and clear. 5 by 5. This must have been Lawrence Fishburne's film role before The Matrix.
Oh, yeah. Matrix was a couple of years later.
Yeah. It's just a centerfold. Which they also made the same point in Interstellar.
Hmm.
Or passes through the wormhole.
Mhm. Of course, this movie did it in a way that you could understand, and an hour and 20 minutes shorter.
Yeah. Although I do like the way the guy explained it in Interstellar.
Hmm.
That's the type of recording that kind of gives you nightmares. Like,
Mhm. Now, Paul Anderson's previous movie before this was Mortal Kombat, and he turned down the chance to direct a sequel to do this film. In retrospect, he made the better choice.
yeah.
Look cute.
Pull up, pull up.
Yeah, I there are two characters that, as far as I'm concerned, are kind of the audience character. Cooper, who of course says what everybody is thinking, and Smith is like says everything everybody's feeling. He's just like from the beginning. He's just like, nope. No, no. Quit wrecking my ship. Foreshadowing. Foreshadowing. Yes, now he's going to need all of you to pretend that you didn't see that.
Indeed, words. Indeed.
Gravity bends space-time around objects such as stars. The event horizon is a boundary in space-time on a wormhole. The theoretical concepts are solid, but the energy makes them practically impossible. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, a little bit. Shit is everywhere. Squishy. Got some good effects in this. And of course, you do tend to get, or at least I know I do, tend to get wrapped up in the production design of these films, and I almost forget to get scared, you know? My boy! The corpse sickle! Listen up, Captain! Here we go. Get over here.
Yes. Run, run, run. Ew, gross. Well, that went southwest.
Yes, it did. Yeah, that's not good.
Was it just a malfunction or did somebody sabotage us?
Well, no, that part was the explosion. That no sabotage there.
Cooper says how we all feel, though.
Mm.
Oh. I'm just losing my mind, that's all.
Yeah. Yeah. This is where the force on board the ship is starting to mess with him.
I think the score's right where it needs to be. This type of film.
No, I was talking about that earlier, Words and Pictures. I actually like the music in this film quite a bit. Um, and of course, this movie was actually my introduction to Prodigy. About sailing, good to see you, sir.
Yes. Hail, cloud sailing. The link to the screening room is available. Of course, we understand that there's been a situation with that on YouTube. You might have to highlight and then go to the link, and then hopefully that will work for you. I've got some problems of my own.
Yeah. The ship is fucked. Deej? Okay. Okay. Can I just say it right now?
Yeah.
This Deep Star 6 sequel is weird. Okay.
Our timestamp is 47:54.
We're about halfway through.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah.
Where have I seen her before? I've seen her in
All right. Yeah.
TV shows.
Kathleen Quinlan. Yeah. From Apollo 13. The Doors. She's in the Twilight Zone movie.
Oh yeah.
Many credits. Used to do a lot of TV as well back in the day. They really got lucky in the casting of this because this is not like your normal cast for this kind of a movie. You've got like Oscar nominees and all in this movie. And it's pretty cool.
The ship is alive. Possessed. I think the ship's pissed off. Don't do it.
Yeah, well, remember when it comes to Weir, we're dealing with the guy who's not thinking straight anyway. He was. Yeah. Here we go.
Kapla. Mark Milanoff, resident Klingon. Good to see you. Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh no.
Just
Oh, oh no. And he's got no extra vehicular suit on. Oh, it's already happening. It's horrible. When at the back, I think the vacuum in space would freeze him automatically.
Hmm. He gets it. He just explaining it. He's got to give up all of his own shit, and he doesn't want to do that.
You give me nothing but bullshit.
Oh, would you send it?
Echoes of his past haunting the crew.
You're in a hell realm of despair.
So they're gonna try to use the Lewis and Clark to get back home.
At this point, yeah.
Because they believe they can.
And we're getting a very gruesome scene about what happened to the
True.
previous crew, which was they basically,
They went crazy.
yeah, and
They
yeah, let's just leave it at that.
they
This is,
they got a huge dose of the space madness.
yeah, and there's actually an interview on Critical Drinkers channel with an actress named Emily Booth who played one of the Event Horizon crew members, talking about filming those scenes and everything that got cut from the film and the reasons why. And I'm gonna see if I can find that, and I'll drop it into the chats.
Cool. I'm sure it was extremely graphic and too horrific for
Very,
most
yes.
eyes. He's gone crazy. The space madness is taking over people. This seems kind of reminiscent of the alien scene. The, the scrounging to get away and stuff just keeps happening.
Hello to Big Al Presents.
Hey, Big O! I'm sure Big Al's got a films with friends later.
Oh.
We've kind of left a present for you.
Hmm.
Oh, Smitty's going to run out of time. It just put it back together.
Hmm.
And we're just sabotaged the hell out of it. He's looking for the explosive device. Having no luck. No,
That's cool.
he's realized I'm fucked. I'm so fucked. C'est la vie, Lewis and Clark. No more Holiday Road for Lewis and Clark. The Holiday Road has come to the end for the Lewis and Clark. And they have to stranded on the Event Horizon. This guy, he cracked me up. He's like floating in space, like, ah! It's like, talk about making a good way out of a bad, horrible day. This guy makes the best out of it. Unless he takes care of
Well,
you.
now there's something very subtle here that I'm not sure how many people notice upon first viewing.
We should not have this kind of a strength.
Well, not just that, but it's the ship is working off of their personal fears and all, right? What you might not notice right away is the surgical scar that's down DJ's chest,
Oh, yeah.
which the idea being is that he had a fear of being what just happened.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I love the space nail gun.
Hmm.
Because that's essentially what it is. It's kind of like a space nail gun. Very cool. Very effective. Our current timestamp is 1 hour, 16 minutes, 15 seconds.
And of course, Stark has been knocked out by the explosion. How did he do that exactly? We're going. You don't need eyes to see. Now, if I had any complaint about this movie, it would be the fact that doesn't Miller get that Weir is possessed? Because it's like he kind of treats Weir like Weir planned this whole thing from the beginning, but it's not the case. Miss.
Well, that's not good.
Miller, could you pass me my calculations, please? Uh, Thank you. Oh, look at this. Breach, Hall, all die. Even had it underlined.
That's one asshole who deserves to be blown out into space. Do it now! Do it! The Halitza, give it away! Get through the airlock!
In the event that you are trapped on a derelict space vessel, do not get off. Stay on. I will find you. Okay.
No. We were blown out in space. There's no way he can come back.
Oh no, never, none whatsoever.
He's drifting. Don't hit me!
Let's start behind me, Lieutenant. And if you don't get that it's The Shining in space by now, well, we'll just tell you. Oh, poopy. We're working on it. Okay. The key. Whoops. Lucy. "72 days later."
Here with us. Is this real or reality?
Or are they?
Yeah. That is the event horizon. Shall you consult the scrolls?
All right. Event Horizon was released August 15th, 1997. Estimated budget of 60 million, going on to gross more than 26.6 million worldwide. People liked it. The critics, not so much. And that's kind of what did it in. Won the Pegasus Award at the Brussels International Film Festival of Fantasy Film. Sam Neill was nominated for a Chainsaw Award for Best Actor, Fangoria Chainsaw Awards. And was nominated for Best Movie at the International Horror Guild. Production began November 18th, 1996 and ended March 14th, 1997. was filmed on the D stage at Pinewood Studios, Iverheath, Buckinghamshire, England, for the Gravity Couch Bay. Miller talks about the Burning Man, and DJ tells him the Latin translation, Tattered Umbilicus. And the Albert R. Broccoli 007 stage, Pinewood Studios, for the interiors and the engine room. All right. On to the trivia. The FBFX created costumes of John Mahler's original spacesuit design, included many practical features such as an integrated filter blower system in the bottom of the portable life support system backpack to keep the helmet's visor clear and the actor cool. Thousands of LEDs that pulsated rhythmically to indicate life support functionality, with a secret panic mode switch to quicken the pace when the plot required it, and the industrial magnets embedded in the soles of the boots to realistically simulate magnetic boots. Lawrence Fishburne nicknamed his suit Doris. However, the light packs and the batteries caused each suit to weigh 65 pounds. Standing upright in them for longer periods could lead to back injury. Sitting down was not possible either due to the bulk. And since no seat could support the weight, special hanging poles were constructed on the set so the actors could rest on them between takes. The Event Horizon's design was modeled on Paris's Gothic Notre Dame Cathedral, which, according to director Paul W.S. Anderson, was an ideal inspiration and was built to scare and intimidate the populace with the importance and power of God. He explained that they basically built Notre Dame Cathedral on the computer and then pulled it apart and used different elements of it to build the Event Horizon. Its long corridor resembles a church nave, and an intricate exterior steelwork is based on the designs of stained glass windows. The antenna dishes on top of the ship are based on the gargoyle clusters on top of Notre Dame. Its interior is filmed with cruciform shapes, columns, flared pillars, vaults, and, quote, torture dungeons. Some of the windows resemble medieval triptychs, and towers of Notre Dame. The towers of Notre Dame were turned on their side to become the engine thruster pods, and when seen from above, the Event Horizon resembles a large crucifix like the floor plan of most churches. On the advice of visual effects supervisor Richard Ursich, who had worked on 2001: A Space Odyssey and Blade Runner, most of the props and effects were done practically, meaning that real sets and miniature models were created wherever possible, and computer-generated images limited to a minimum. The model of the Event Horizon was a 30-foot scale model that includes a complete X-wing from Star Wars as part of the antenna array, visible on the lower portion of the Event Horizon during the first flyby by the Lewis and Clark, which was a 1-foot model. Director cameo. Paul W.S. Anderson at around 3 minutes into the film. During the opening dream sequence, a book floats past the camera featuring a picture of the director and his name. The director himself jokes about this detail in the DVD commentary, saying it's his biography entitled Paul Anderson, A Life. Later, there is a bottle of mineral water floating around with the brand Eichinger, an homage to Bernd Eichinger, with whom Anderson would later make Resident Evil. The Event Horizon was named after the theoretical boundaries surrounding a black hole in which gravitational attraction is so great that nothing, not even radiation, can escape because the escape velocity is greater than the speed of light. Technically, it is where the physical universe ends and physical laws no longer apply. So the ship's name is symbolic for its journey beyond the borders of the known universe. This movie was produced entirely within the UK, including the special effects. Paul W.S. Anderson wanted to hire British band Orbital to compose the music for the film because he had wanted to work with them since the second movie, Mortal Kombat, which had featured their music. However, Paramount executives balked at using unknowns to write music for a big-budget film, so Anderson hired Mike Kamen, then married his additional orchestral score, Orbital's Techno Sound, a joint recording session, which resulted in the final soundtrack. Philip Eyer wrote the movie after a family tragedy. He had recently entered a multi-picture writing agreement, and in an effort to force himself to get back to work, he pitched the idea of The Shining in space to the studio, which was very receptive. Unfortunately, he had no detailed treatment yet, and the subject matter blended with his emotional state to inspire a prolonged bout of writer's block. The studio executive who had originally brought him on board, now a personal friend, helped keep Eisner on track, and the eventual first draft was enthusiastically received. Originally planned for a fall 1997 release, the film's editing phase was cut from 10 to 6 weeks after it was suddenly fast-tracked for an August release, as Titanic could not make its intended July deadline, and Paramount had no other blockbuster movie scheduled for the summer period. Director Paul W.S. Anderson was pressured to deliver a rough cut of the film in time for screening in the USA and additional post-production. But when editing was to begin, he was still working 7 days a week for a fortnight in the UK to shoot the final scenes for the movie, leaving him barely 4 weeks to oversee the hectic editing process. He described the initial test screenings as disastrous, as the 130-minute rough cut was too long and slow, refined, and had an incomplete soundtrack. It didn't go well at all, he said. This was the first time I'd walked into a room of 350 people, and in the end, they just didn't like it. Or some people liked it passionately, but not enough. The film had to be hastily recut and shortened by 30 minutes within 1 week to meet the deadline for a second U.S. screening. Anderson later said there was simply not enough time to make rational, well-thought-out decisions, only take out chunks that hadn't tested well. As a result, he feels that the finished film was 10 minutes too short and would have been better if he really had more time to fix the film. Anderson wanted to use real sets and props as much as possible, so production designer Joseph Bennett had to find a crew in Britain that could build and finish the sets in 4 weeks before shooting began. The huge gravity drive was a particular challenge because Anderson insisted that its 3 rings could rotate for real. Some mechanisms were built inside to accomplish this. During filming, parts inside the rings started to break off, causing a rattling sound whenever the rings moved. So all the dialogue delivered during these scenes had to be redone in post-production. Andrew Kevin Walker wrote an uncredited draft of the script. Some of it ended up on screen, and one sequence was cut from the theatrical edit where Captain Miller, upon entering the event horizon, finds a ripped-out tooth floating around. Other scenes appear as storyboards in the special collector's edition. When Miller's crew was introduced for the first time on an other rescue mission, on the DVD documentaries and commentaries, Director Paul W.S. Anderson said that after initial poor test screening results, he was requested to shorten the movie considerably. He regretted having to delete the tooth scene, but it didn't help the film's pacing. Anderson mentioned in a 2017 interview that 1 year after the film's release, John Goldwyn, head of production at Paramount, admitted to him that he felt the film had not been properly released. Despite a poor box office run, the film's video and DVD sales had been excellent, so the studio wanted him to make the longer version he always intended. For some time, Anderson and producer Jeremy Bolt worked on the director's cut. They traveled the world to locate the original footage, some of which was found in the most unusual places, such as an abandoned Transylvanian salt mine. Though this is not as strange as it sounds, as the dry climate in such mines helps protect the negative from degradation. However, they quickly realized that since the movie was made just before the DVD era, when alternate versions became much more commonplace, much of the original footage had either been destroyed, discarded, or its location had not been properly documented. Of the stock that was retrieved, much of it had been badly archived or was otherwise degraded. A few of the surviving scenes, including a scene where Dr. Weir is informed of the reappearance of the Event Horizon, appear on the Special Collector's Edition DVD and survived only in videotape form, sometimes without dialogue or sound effects. The DVD also includes storyboards of a spacewalk sequence that was abandoned for budget reasons and the alternate ending with commentary by Anderson. A VHS copy that might contain a rough edit had resurfaced in 2012, but Anderson revealed he hasn't had time to see it yet, and it is unlikely to be of sufficient picture quality to be used anyway. Although he was not optimistic about the prospects of a director's cut, he did not rule out the possibility that missing footage of sufficient quality could turn up one day, given that a director's cut of Clive Barker's Nightbreed also unexpectedly turned up in a storage facility in 2014. And of course, folks, as those of you who follow these things know, the director's cut of Nightbreed is on to 4K. So check that out. Most of the members of the original Event Horizon crew were friends of producer Jeremy Bolt and director Paul W.S. Anderson and were also directors. Anderson joked that this is why they ended up in hell. One of them was British director Gary Senior, who made The Bachelor, starring Chris O'Donnell and Renee Zellweger. Some spacesuits have flags showing hypothetical future political changes on Earth. Characters portrayed by British actors wear a European Union flag with 22 stars replacing the Union Jack, as the movie predates the UK's 2016 vote to leave the European Union. Sam Neill requested that the Union Jack on his Australian flag patch be replaced with an Aboriginal flag, which was the way he thought it would look in 2047. Lawrence Fishburne's character is wearing a pendant with a Jamaican flag on it. Dr. Weir shares his name with a historical figure, Johann Weir, known as Weir or Weiris. He was a Dutch physician, occultist, and demonologist. At around 57 minutes, the hundreds of apparent metal bolts that line the corridors of the Event Horizon are actually power transistors in a TO3 or similar package. This can be seen when Miller rests his head against a wall when hearing Korg's voice. At around 5 minutes, the shot where Sam Neill stares out of a window and then pulls back to reveal he's on the deck of a space station orbiting Earth took the digital special effects house Cinesite 10 weeks to achieve. The shot lasts for 45 seconds and took nearly a third of the film's visual effects budget because it was filmed using separate scale models of different size that had to match up perfectly. Director Paul W.S. Anderson said that the shot had to be redone over 20 times before he was satisfied with it, and half-jokingly claimed that the man working on it had to take a year-long sabbatical afterwards to recuperate. In the original screenplay, almost all the action aboard the Event Horizon occurred in zero gravity, so the actors were supposed to be filming as if they were weightless, suspended by cables and rigging that would be erased in post-production. However, during initial tests, it became clear that this would be too cumbersome and time-consuming for the short production schedule and didn't look too convincing. A number of zero-G scenes were drastically reduced by adding magnetic boots and artificial gravity to the script, and camera movements were used in the zero-G scenes to hide most of the imperfections. The working title was The Star's My Destination. It comes from the 1957 Alfred Bester novel about a man from the 24th or 25th century, depending on the edition of the novel, named Gully Foyle, who acquires the ability to teleport like the Event Horizon in the movie. And he's also a character who gets trapped in space. So there you go. And they've been trying to make that book into a movie for years.
So is that it for the scrolls?
There's a lot more.
Okay. But wait, there's more.
There's more. At around 5 minutes, veteran editor Terry Rawlings, Alien and Blade Runner, was present during editing for a few weeks to give Martin Hunter advice. Originally, Dr. Weir would be followed in his morning routine, but Rawlings proposed to have him suggestively hold a razor to his throat, then smash cut to Weir opening the blinds in his room, making the audience jump at the sound. The whooshing sound effect of the blinds is taken from the video game Doom, which also deals with people battling infernal entities in space. The sound can be heard when the player opens a door. In keeping with the naturalistic science fiction tone of the film, the costumes were based on present-day flight suits. Firearms were purposely not included into the movie, since this was supposed to be a humans-only universe where salvage crews didn't expect to need guns in deep space. This is the reason why tools look like nail guns are used for defense later in the movie. Anderson was offered the movie on the strength of the box office success of his previous film, Mortal Kombat. He had to turn down the opportunity to direct a sequel, X-Men, the X-Files movie, and Alien Resurrection in order to do this film. Anderson's initial cut of the film ran 130 minutes and was so violent that both test audiences and the studio balked at the finished product. Paramount ordered him to cut the film by 30 minutes and tone down some of the violence. Anderson said he didn't have enough time for a proper re-edit, believes he could cut 10 minutes, he cut out 10 minutes too much. Although it was announced in 2012 that producer Lloyd Levin had found a VHS tape that might contain the full version of the film, Anderson revealed in 2017 that neither he nor Levin had seen it yet, as they had both been too busy in the same country with the VHS player. Although he believes that the condition of the copy will be too poor to use, Anderson has stated he's still excited to see what's on it. Some of the movie's lost footage includes a great deal more of the Bosch-influenced hell sequences and of the orgiastic video log that was found in the Event Horizon. These were shot by both director Paul Anderson and Vadim Jean, mainly on weekends. The video log took a month of preparation and about a week to film. According to producer Jeremy Bolt, they made these scenes as grotesque as possible, figuring that if you're going to go to hell, you've really got to do it. You can't tap dance. In order to make the shots of body parts getting damaged in many ways look more realistic and therefore a lot more violent, they hired real-life amputees dressed in extensive makeup and outfitted with practical special effects. One actor who had teeth missing wore stunt dentures that could get knocked out. Porn actors were hired to make the scenes more graphic. Actor Jason Isaacs mentioned in a 2023 interview that the scenes were shot on adjacent sound stages and included, quote, things that were definitely illegal to do now and probably illegal to do then. Some of the crew actually had to leave the set during filming when they started feeling sick. According to Anderson and Bolt, most of these shots were cut from during the screening of a rough cut in the movie, as test audiences were generally disturbed by what they saw, and some people even started to faint. Anderson also said that Paramount was very supportive of his artistic decisions, like filming in England and building real sets as much as possible, rather than resorting to digital effects. Anderson eschewed the overused special effects houses ILM and DreamWorks in favor of smaller companies to keep costs down. So he opted for Massaluze and Cinesite, which is in Europe, and a computer film company in London instead. All right. The first person whom director Anderson and producer Volt signed onto the film was director of photography Adrian Biddle. Biddle was happy to work with Anderson and production designer Joseph Bennett to go for a unique Gothic approach, which they called techno-medieval. He was already involved during set design so that he could think of ways of how to shoot them. He used filters to create, quote, unpleasant colors like sepia brown and fluorescent green, which are barely used in movies, to make the audience uneasy, as green reminds them of underground car parks. It was also Biddle's idea to go with a lot of floor lighting as well as the lighting boxes used in the latter half of the movie. Cast was less than happy with them as these lights were unflattering. Paramount originally planned to release Titanic in July of 1997. But when that film was plagued by delays, it had to be rescheduled to Christmas in 1997. This left Paramount with a sudden gap in its summer movie schedule. So Anderson was asked to have the film ready for an August 1997 release. This being only his third film, he naively agreed, believing that the studio had enough faith in him that this movie could compete with Air Force One. However, this meant that the movie was officially greenlit a mere 10 weeks before production was due to begin, which had the unfortunate consequence that the production design was extremely rushed, causing many leading production designers to turn the film down. Although Anderson admitted that the relatively inexperienced Joseph Bennett did a great job. Filming was done in 86 days and editing was cut short to barely 4 weeks, forcing Anderson to work 7 days a week while still directing the second unit for the final scenes, and at the same time overseeing the editing process at night. Although this very short post-production schedule was definitely detrimental to the final product, the biggest problem, according to Anderson, was that the studio was hoping for a big summer blockbuster, but they eventually got a, quote, rather distressing and disturbing horror film that was difficult to sell. From green light to completion, the film took 10 months, an unusually short time for such a complex and effects-driven film. Having just done a PG-13 movie, Mortal Kombat, Anderson was very keen to do something more mature and gruesome, which is why he turned down the chance to direct the X-Men. Writer Philip Eisner visited the set while the spacesuit sequences were being filmed. The suits are so heavy that the actors risked back injuries, prompting Lawrence Fishburne to stop between takes, point at Eisner, and mock angrily, You, Eisner, you did this to me. All right. Let's see. Jeremy Irons and Amy Brenneman were originally set to star in the film. Well, that would have been interesting. Let's see. The official name of the gateway machine in the script was the third containment, but it's informally called the gravity drive in the film. The room it stands in being the second containment and the corridor leading to them the first. It was originally described as a smooth, featureless black orb, 10 meters, nearly 33 feet in diameter, suspended in midair between large rotating mechanical arms. It was also said to contain a stable black hole within it at all times, which the ship uses as a power source, as opposed to briefly creating a temporary one. Anderson decided to redesign it to involve interlocking rings as an homage to the puzzle box in Hellraiser, which served as an inspiration. The spikes on the curved walls were originally supposed to extend inwards to connect with the machine each time when the drive activated. However, at the end of production, no more time and budget was left to create this as a visual effect. Filming occupied 7 sound stages at Pinewood Studios outside London. Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut was being filmed on adjacent sound stages. Anderson said that one studio executive inquired whether the movie could be PG-13. However, his initial rough cut submitted to the MPAA already received a Kiss of Death NC-17 rating. Heavy re-editing was necessary to obtain an R rating. Anderson envisioned the Event Horizon as a haunted house in space and therefore wanted the ship to be continuously shrouded in Neptune's clouds, even if this would be unrealistic. However, producer Jeremy Bolt had forgotten to pass on this request to his special effects crew, so the crowds had to be added as a visual effects in post-production. Anderson claimed that the effect was costly enough to be reused in many subsequent British movies for the next 5 years. Clive Barker, whose movie Hellraiser had a large influence on the film, consulted on the project during pre-production. At around 3 minutes, to watch in the spinning tunnel at the start of the film is an Omega Speedmaster, the same watch worn by Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin on their moon mission. At around 85 minutes, the filming of the fireball inside the gravity drive tunnel caused a real fire that partially destroyed the set. Director Paul W.S. Anderson had a military flamethrower mounted to produce a huge fireball, but due to the force of the jet, it toppled and started to incinerate the wooden ceiling. Anderson ordered the stunt coordinator to switch the machine off, but the controls were on the device itself, so no one could get close to it. It then turned over and started to burn the wooden floor, under which the gas canisters feeding the flame had been placed. The studio was quickly evacuated, but fortunately the canisters held out until the fire could be put out. A different set had to be built quickly while the old one was being repaired. The repaired set was only used for an additional day of filming. In Philip Eisner's original script, Weir's explanation of how the gravity drive bends space and time in order to travel huge interstellar distances was very technical and incomprehensible. So director Anderson asked him to think of a way to explain it to the crew and thus the audience in a simpler way. This led to the scene where Weir demonstrates it by folding a piece of paper and pushing a pen through it. This scene is paraphrased in Interstellar, where Romilly uses the exact same demonstration to explain the wormhole theory. And in Thor: Love and Thunder, Jane refers to these demonstrations in both Event Horizon and Interstellar to illustrate how an Einstein-Rosen bridge works. The airlock the ship docks at is the unlucky number 13 in Roman numerals. Although the film met with mostly negative reviews and a disappointing box office result at the time of its release, it amassed a considerable cult following over the years. Director Anderson said that the movie's cult status was predicted to him years before by Kurt Russell. Anderson screened Event Horizon before they started work on Soldier, and Russell said, "Forget about what this movie's doing now. In 15 years' time, this is going to be the movie you're glad you made." The film stars 2 Oscar nominees, Lawrence Fishburne and Kathleen Quinlan. Costume designer John Mallow is an Oscar winner for Star Wars. Producer Lawrence Gordon, composer Michael Kamen, cinematographer Adrian Biddle, set decorator Crispin Salas, and visual effects supervisor Richard Urasich are all Oscar nominees. The visions from hell and the ship's video log were inspired by works from 16th century Renaissance painters Hieronymus Bosch and Peter Bruegel, which director Anderson saw while he was touring art galleries with his production designer. Anderson was fascinated by these paintings as the makers clearly believed in the reality of hell as the complete antithesis of heaven, and the images they created were terrifying and beautiful at the same time. He was also inspired by the macabre beauty of Joel Peter Witkin's photos, which featured deformed or dissected people. Anderson said that these scenes were filmed at the end of production with a smaller unit. Studio executives had only attended some of the early days of filming and were satisfied with what they saw, so they probably never bothered to screen the footage beforehand, thinking they were just insert shots. He stated that when the executives saw a screening of the rough edit, They were very shocked and some even fainted. This was the studio that made Star Trek, so I think they kind of thought it was Star Trek. It was like Star Trek, but with a bit more violence or something. I don't think they were really expecting what they got. Ironically, Paramount would later reuse a brief shot of the eyeless corpse in the Star Trek Voyager episode, Random Thoughts. All right. Hello to the horror cat dad. And Sergeant Giratina, good to see you. All right, I'll read off a few more of these. There's still a bunch more. Okay, let me scroll down. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tommy Lee Jones, and Bruce Willis were all considered for the role of Captain Miller. Scott Glenn and Bill Pullman were considered to play Dr. Weir, but turned the role down. There's a series being developed based on the movie that will be directed by Adam Wingard, but there's no release date as of yet. And oh, by the way, there is a comic book series called Event Horizon Dark Descent, which is out right now. The first 2 issues are out. Go to your local comic store and check those out. I'll read off a few more of these. Among those in the audience in 1997 was Galaxy Quest screenwriter Robert Gordon, who was amused enough by the notion of the meat grinder tunnel that in response he created Galaxy Quest's infamous corridor filled with chompers. During scenes between Captain Miller and Dr. Weir, there are relatively few wide shots showing both of them in one frame. According to director Anderson, this was done to accommodate the actors' different acting styles. Fishburne would usually nail it during the first 3 takes, then lose energy, whereas Neil had to warm up and got better with each consecutive take. Cutting back and forth between the 2 directors was a compromise. Between 2 characters was a compromise to get the best performance out of each actor in the scene. This film became a cult hit among media and even inspired such games as Dead Space and Doom 3. Due to the rush to production, filming was hard on the crew, but the actors also had their own problems. Jolie Richardson said later that the script was incomprehensible and that none of the actors really understood it or the nature of the other dimension, but they were happy enough to be cast against type or to work with each other to sign on. Extensive special effects work, bulky suits, gallons of fake blood, and makeup took a toll on the cast. There were so many accidents on set, such as Richardson and Sam Neill being knocked out by a badly timed explosion and Richardson's foot getting jammed in the door, that they felt the movie itself was cursed. Director Paul W.S. Anderson noted that the physical sets they built for the actors to interact with were very effective, especially in the Visions from Hell scenes. By the end, basically every actor had told him how the sets had a disturbing vibe to them. That's how I knew we were doing something right, when people would go, "I love working with you, Paul, but I hate coming to work." It was actually the sets themselves, because the crew couldn't have been nicer. All in all, Richardson concurred, saying it wasn't a fun project, though a lot of the people were lovely. The ship, the Lewis and Clark, is named after the American expedition across America in the 1800s and is described as a submarine crossed with an ambulance. Director Anderson actually hated the first scene in which the ship is introduced. Due to some technical difficulties, the circling shot of the ship wasn't as smooth as he had hoped. So he added a text identifying the Lewis and Clark to the shot in hope of distracting the audience from the imperfection. A popular fan theory states that Event Horizon is set in the same universe as the popular tabletop game Warhammer 40,000. Screenwriter Philip Eisner was an avid player of Warhammer 40,000 and revealed in 2017 that the game was a major influence on Event Horizon. The theory states that Event Horizon is a prequel to the setting of Warhammer 40,000 because the similarities between Event Horizon's depiction of hell and the macabre alternate dimension, the Warp, in Warhammer 40,000. Ships that access the warp for faster than light space travel get infested with warp entities such as demons and enslavers unless they are protected by a Geller field, which could explain what happened to the Event Horizon. All right. There's a lot more, but I would probably need another hour to go through them all. However, I will read this because it has to do with the scenes that got cut out from the film. Okay. Some of the deleted scenes from the original 130-minute cut of the let me take a drink.
Take a drink.
Okay. All right. Some of the deleted scenes from the original 130-minute long rough cut are a meeting scene at the space station between Weir and some of his superiors in charge of the mission, where they talk about the Event Horizon's reappearance and Weir's insistence that he join the rescue team, which is not to salvage his reputation, but because they need the ship's technology to establish more Earth colonies. Dialogue from this deleted scene was included in the theatrical trailer. More backstory for Justin and Cooper. It was explained that Justin has always been fascinated by the Event Horizon, providing a much stronger explanation for why he enters the black hole when he is finally on board. Cooper's greatest fear was losing someone close to him, which is represented in the film by the unfortunate accident that claims Justin. The deleted backstory that hints to a previous romance between Stark and Miller, which I think is kind of there. It's obvious that she's kind of into him. Miller finds a ripped out tooth floating around in the Event Horizon. This scene was cut for pacing. More scenes explaining what exactly the gateway to hell or the black hole is. Longer version of the scene where Peter hallucinates her son with his legs all mangled with maggots all over them. Anderson claimed that the maggot shot was so particularly sickening that it took people too far out of the movie to be effective. After Justin almost dies and is inside the water tank, Weir has a hallucination where Justin turns into his wife Claire, who comes out, looks at him. This scene was included in the first two test screening versions of the movie, but didn't make the final cut. Okay. I'm going to have to be careful with this one. The famous Bloody Orgy video was also much longer, parts of which are still in the scene. One of the crew members sticking his fingers deep into another one's eyes. A female crew member doing something to a male crew member that I cannot bring up. And even more versions, and even more violent in the original version of the scene. There's a lot more extended shots of the Event Horizon crew naked, covered in blood, having violent sex, and okay, I'm going to shorten this, guys. They are using objects on each other, and there's cannibalism involved. And various body parts being ripped out of people. I'll just leave it at that. The synopsis I'm reading is much more detailed. YouTube would kill us if I brought up half of this stuff. So let me move on. All right. More close-up shots of Peter's mangled corpse after she falls to her death. A scene where Weir remembers his wife Claire self-deleting was originally longer and bloodier. There was more backstory for DJ, explaining that the scar on his chest came from childhood surgery gone wrong. Since then, his biggest fear is being vivisected, which sadly comes true in the end. The scene where Miller finds DJ cut open and hanging was longer and had more sets of his guts on the table. The scene where the cryo chamber is filling with blood originally had a part where Weir's hand pounds against the glass from inside, showing that the ship has regenerated him inside the tank, explaining how he comes back. Weir smashes the chamber, letting the blood out, and then as Cooper is helping Stark to escape, a mutilated and naked Weir is climbing from a ladder upside down behind him. I've seen that scene. It kind of looks like the spider walk from The Exorcist. Originally in the scene where Miller fights to possess Weir on the bridge of the ship, Weir gives what Anderson referred to as the Old Testament speech to Miller, telling him that the dimension of pure chaos is actually hell. This is kept much more vague in the final movie. 2 alternate endings were also filmed. In the first ending, Miller fights with Weir in the core, and the Visions of Hell sequence during the fight was also much longer, with much more extended shots of the dead Event Horizon crew, having been various versions of dead, and the Lewis and Clark crew members being tortured by the unseen forces and hanging on upside down crosses. This version didn't have the jump scare at the end when the last 3 survivors are found by another rescue crew, and Stark hallucinates as he sees Weir. Instead, Stark hears the screams of the Event Horizon crew and feels their hands going over her body, and she screams in fear. Cooper wakes her up, and the hands are shown to belong to the rescue team. This was the original ending of the movie and was included in the shooting script. The second ending, Miller fights with the Burning Man from his visions, who introduces himself to Mira as the Confessor, a demon beast from hell, at the core instead of with Weir. And many of the visions of hell were trimmed. However, the audience of the second test screening preferred the return of Weir. The final ending, a combination of these 2 endings, was made. Instead of fighting the Burning Man, Miller fights with Weir. The visions from hell are shorter, and the jump scare was added at the very end of the movie. Okay, there's a lot more. You can go to IMDb to read the rest of the trivia, and also check out my page. I have one there. So, yeah.
And thank you,
All
Words and Pictures, for a $3 super sticker.
Oh.
Let's see. It was a jumping, thankful peach, thankful pear, blowing kisses and such. Thank you very, very, very much, Words and Pictures.
And I got the bird giving us a thumbs up.
Nice.
Okay. In a manner of speaking, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they went there. There are some photos online of the scene, but it got lost. Yeah. I really had to. That IMDb goes into much more detail about the Visions of Hell scenes. I can't talk about a lot of that stuff on YouTube. I'm sorry, guys. And honestly, some of it makes me pretty kind of queasy, and I am at 2 minds at that stuff being cut. And while it's making a point about what this hell dimension is and what it does to people. In 1997, I was more of a hit me with your best shot kind of guy. I would have been for having it in the film. 2025 me doesn't need to see it. And
No.
in the end, I don't think the movie needs it. I think it's fine as it is. You know, nowadays I'm more upset by the character backstory stuff that got cut out than any gore that got left on the cutting room floor. You know, that's just how I feel about it. I like the movie as is.
Yeah.
You know, go out if go out and read the screenplay. It's all there. There's a couple of different drafts of it that are out there. I didn't know about the Andrew Kevin Walker draft. I'm curious to see how that turned out, or how much of what he wrote ended up in the film. Yeah, a book version with details might work more in the film version. Yeah, I kind of look at the Visions from Hell scene as, you know, I can very much see the Clive Barker influence on this film. And I kind of look at the Visions from Hell scenes as the world the Cenobites live in. That's kind of how I look at it. So, you know, yeah. I tell you, a very early version, and I'll go into this. I did read a version of the script that I think was kind of like an earlier draft. It's about 120 pages. It has this very interesting scene that I wish had been left in the movie, and there's a scene where Miller comes face to face with Kelpak, who's the captain, the original captain of the Event Horizon. And there's a scene when Miller goes into the containment room, and there's like this Last Supper looking tableau where it's the Event Horizon crew and Justin, who in that version of the script, Justin died when he got blown out of the airlock. And that was an interesting scene where there's kind of this conversation between Miller and Kilpack, and Justin has some dialogue too. I kind of wish they had kept that scene, but it you know, that's neither here nor there. That's just a scene from that version that I liked. Another scene I wish they had kept from that version of the script was there's a version where you have before they get to after they're out of the out of stasis and before they get to the Event Horizon, there's actually this very good scene between Miller and Weir where they actually start off kind of getting along, and they have this little conversation where Weir talks about building the Event Horizon, and he talks about Claire, but he talks about her like she's still alive. So Miller has no idea that Claire is dead, so, you know. Um, and I wish they had kept that scene in because it kind of goes into Weir's psychosis a little bit. And you actually have Miller and Weir in a scene where they're kind of being civil with one another, which in the movie they're kind of like at DEFCON 1 with each other from the beginning. And I really don't like that, because like I said, it in the movie it kind of comes off like Miller believes that Weir planned all of this from the beginning. And that's not the case, guys. He's just he wants to know what happened just like everybody else did. And it's their relationship is less antagonistic at the beginning. There's it goes from they get along to eventually what you do see in the film. There's a progression. And I feel that got lost in the final film.
Yeah. We're kind of slipped into the madness and of the pain of loss and all that, gets caught up in
in
whatever
the script,
entity the ship brought back from its excursion.
In the script, there's a progression from Weir just being kind of a normal guy dealing with this loss, not only the loss of the ship, but the loss of his wife as well, and feeling the guilt over that, and that's much more spelled out in that version of the script. Did he create the ship to find his dead wife? No. Not at least not in the version of the script that I read. He's not expecting to go there and find this basically demon version of her. No. That just starts to, that's just this ship fucking with his head, basically. But yeah, go and track down. There are places where you can go read the screenplays, do that anyway, not just with this movie, with any movie, there are places where you can go and you can read screenplays. Do it. I'd advise, because you kind of get to see what like the original versions of, what the writer had in mind, I am of the mind that there are three people who make a film: a writer, a director, and the editor. The movie gets made 3 times. You have it's written by the screenwriter, it is made by the director, and then it's made by the editor in the editing room. And and if it falls apart along the way, that's going to affect how the final movie turns out. And it's a thought. And I'm a guy who likes to read like screenplays and plays, and I do that for fun anyway. But every once in a while, you come on, especially when there's a movie like this that I'm a big fan of. I get curious about, what changed between, the script and the final film. And Philip Eisner is a writer on another film that I'm a big fan of called the Mutant Chronicles, which is a movie that I'm hoping we do sometime down the line. And there's actually a couple of different versions of that as well. But yeah. Okay, enough of my my yakking. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Bill, you are muted.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Bill, what do we have coming up for the show?
Well, Thursday we have Bronx Action Theater returns for Bram Stoker's Dracula. That will be at its regular time Thursday at 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern.
Mhm.
And we'll be back here next Saturday for another extra dose with the Prince of Darkness. John Carpenter's The Prince of Darkness next week.
Very the second movie in Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy, which includes The Thing and In the Mouth of Madness, and a movie that I think is very underrated, and I'm a big fan of that one as well. So I'm looking forward to revisiting that. And thank you, Words and Pictures. This is all Bill, guys. This is Bill's show. It was his baby. I consider myself just a sidekick along for the ride on this thing. So, I appreciate it, but really thank the man next to me on screen here. This was it's all him. It's his baby. This as well as Western cinema.
Yep.
And of course, hopefully it will be brought back at some point. Bucket of Blood.
Yeah. I'll be running some Buckets of Blood episode this month.
Where you get
Friday,
into a little more, where you do horror films and kung fu movies and stuff like that. Which is how I ultimately ended up on this show, because I was in the Fist of Fury episode, wasn't I? Way back when.
Yeah.
That was, I think, my first appearance. So I agree. Yeah, Prince of Darkness is very underrated. Yeah, yep. I'm a big fan of that movie. I'm glad.
And it's got Alice Cooper in it.
And it does. Yeah.
Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
As a hobo psycho. One of the great ones. But it's also a great John Carpenter's film. Donald Pleasance is in it. One of his final performances. It's just a kind of out there action / horror sci-fi classic that has to be. And it's, since it's the month of October, it has to be done. So that's why we're bringing it to you. Extra dose. Prince of Darkness next week, and Thursday, Bram Stoker, 1992, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Keanu Reeves, and crew. You know it. and then of course tomorrow I will be waking up early to do my Outlaw Bill Sports Network with the Denver Broncos and the Jets in the UK. About 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m. my time. We'll be hitting the airways and bringing you a play-by-play action for the Jets Bronco game in the UK. Otherwise, thank you all for being here. Words and Pictures, the Horror Cat, Chad, Connie Cleary, Lady Miss the Emoji Queen. Sergeant Gardena, Spike Lee, Stan Lee, JPRPH1,
Right.
Big
We
Al
had
presents,
Big Al presents, yes.
Mark Smirnoff, Kapla,
Mhm.
Cloud Sailing,
Ah, yes.
uh,
Castellar Daniel Garcia, thank
yep.
you for joining us. You were here with us earlier. Let's see.
Resolute Germ,
Yes, Resolute Germ. Scrolling up, Tune the News.
Tune the News, yeah. Andrea Block, Andrea Black.
Right.
And always remember, be excellent to each other. Party on, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right. And as I always say, thank you all once again to everyone who joined us on the our journey into hell for Event Horizon. All right. We had over 30 people watching at one point, on at least on my channel. There's usually ×2 over on Bill's. So thank you to everybody who joined us. You don't necessarily have to say hello in the chat or anything. Just as long as you enjoy the show, hit the like, share out the stream, and come back next week. Thursday, 4:30 for Bram Stoker's Dracula, and next Saturday at the same time for Prince of Darkness.
Yep.
From HQ, our second home office in Arizona, and all points north, south, east, west, and beyond. Good night. Take care. Stay strong. Be safe and healthy, because this is how we win.